Have you ever dated someone where at first it seemed strange that they were single, and then later it made sense why it was the case? What was that person like? Oh, wait. I got another one. She was extremely hot, kinky, and rich. Now I did wonder, what does she want with me? She was in banking, always looking the job, and I was basically a teen with a band shirt and boots. Didn't take me long to find out. One day, I left my mobile phone for half an hour in my room while I was in the kitchen, eating dinner. When I came back, I had 29 missed calls and several SMS. Often, I'd find myself in this situation, and then pick up the phone. She'd be crying and screaming. I was a teen and had no idea how to handle this situation. She wrote me tons of messages. Finally going on a call binge again, and when I said I couldn't answer because my prepaid was empty, that was true. She showed up in the middle of the night, with prepaid cards for €200, and said or threatened, "From now on, you'll answer me." I realized I had to break up with her, something I hadn't really done yet. So I did. It was a huge scene. She threatened suicide all night long. Then I finally blocked her. She became my stalker. In the middle of the night, she would call the landline and tell me to look out of the window, where she had parked her car across the street. Hundreds of emails. She'd show up at school. I wanted to go to the police, but it was only later that we had legislation for stalking. I actually feared for my life at some point, because she was goddamn nuts. It only stopped when I moved about 800 miles. Got a secret phone number and deleted all my old email accounts. Even 10 years later, when I went into politics, she began commenting on everything that could be found about me on the web. Oh, well, I hope she never finds out where I live again, because I'm back in the area. Just before I started college, I met this girl at a festival. Looked like Natalie Portman. Great sense of humor, smart. Friends were lovely. Asked her to my debs, which was a week later, and she said yes. I thought, hey, my luck has peaked. The debs was great and we had a great time. I got to know her and her character flaws, as everyone does over time. Could not believe she was single. Well, after 3 years we had our relationship troubles. In part my fault and a lot hers. I suppose I could have been more supportive, as she did have some emotional problems. We decided to try an open relationship. Worked for her but not for me. I agreed to it to make her happy. We broke up shortly after. Took me a while to get over it, but eventually I did. 8 to 9 years later I bump into her out of the blue and we start talking. She's with the same guy that she cheated on me with. After we agreed to stop the open relationship, she hooked up with him. Hence the spilt. We reminisced about the past and she eventually brought up her current relationship problems and how he didn't treat her right. Criticized how much makeup she wore, what she wore, etc. I think she was looking for some confidence boost. I reassured her he was wrong and that she needed to address it with him. We went our separate ways. Fast forward another 3 years. They have broken up and she's drinking a lot and finding herself again. Bumps into me one night out and wants to rekindle things. I guess she hadn't met anyone that had treated her like I did. We talk a lot and kiss a few times. I didn't think sex was appropriate considering where she was in her head. Few weeks later we go out one night with her friends and everyone's surprised to see me after so long. Over a decade at this stage. We end up at a house party and after 2 or 3 hours everyone's gone to bed. We open up to each other about how we feel. She tells me she always loved me and it never went away. I had felt the same. Things started to get heavy but I stopped it from going too far. She wanted sex with someone that loved her but didn't want there to be anything complicated afterwards. I told her that couldn't be the case. Cause of our history. Too much for me to deal with. We can't seem to agree on each other's feelings about the whole thing. I feel weird about the situation and leave in the morning. Nothing happened to complicate things. 4 weeks later she asks to meet me for coffee to get something off her chest. She thinks she is bisexual and it's why she's not ready to commit or start a possible relationship with me. She wants to experience a relationship with a woman in case she might be gay. I accept this. It would explain some things. She asks if we can still be friends and move on. I agree and wish her well. I took it hard but I understood this was a big thing to admit to someone. Well, about 3 months later Shush is pregnant with her first child. by a guy who looks like me. I didn't know at the time I messaged her. I needed someone to talk to, and considering our history I had complete confidence in her opinion and honesty. She tells me halfway through the conversation that she does think she can talk to me anymore. It was very much the last message I would ever get from her. Had this huge aura of, I wish I could but I can't because I have a family now. I was over the moon for her. I'd never jeopardize that, ever, and she knows it. Was the closure I was waiting for but not the closure I expected. I always thought I knew her but I feel like I was played multiple times. Used as a crutch even. The events over the decade played with my emotions and made me make unhealthy choices. To this day I'd like to know the truth about everything. What was I to her? Who was she? Apologies. Needed the rant. Never spoke about it with anyone. I'm happy where I am now. All this happened years ago and I'll be getting married to the most wonderful woman I have ever met. Count my blessings every morning. The above story is a series of life events I wish didn't happen. Then again, if they hadn't, I'd never have met my fiancée and soon-to-be wife. Met the girl through a friend during a night of light drinking and chilling. She seemed very interested in me, was coming on to me a bit and was super hot, which was quite a rare occurrence for me. So we did the dirty a few nights later, which eventually led to feelings getting involved and about a year of dating but not officially, even though we were together most of the time. She was very sweet and caring most of the time, specifically when she was sober, but she had a bad drinking problem, where if she had enough to drink it would bring her to the point of acting out for no reason, screaming, crying, yelling, running away. It was embarrassing, very hard to put up with, and made me extremely confused. She would be a completely different person after a certain threshold of liquor. After a certain point it seemed like she was drinking all the time too, which made being around her unbearable. I put up with it for so long because I had strong feelings for her sober mind, but eventually had to break it off. Yes, she was hella cute but like insanely religious. I'm talking everything was Jesus. You stubbed your toe. That's part of God's plan. Not for me. Still friends. Yeah, he was insanely good looking and such a good guy, and we got along so well. He was very funny and we could the conversation going. 1 month in I realized he was super overprotective and crazy. He was very jealous and male cousins were even a problem for him. I hate fighting but he enjoyed it and wanted to get physical. Not really. I was single for a few years after I got a divorce. I dated and played around but I was slow to commit until the one came into my life. I would have been more worried about dating me a month or two after the divorce when I was a wreck. After a few years I was emotionally reassembled and ready for a solid relationship. So I wouldn't take someone being single as being a red flag. Some people are just wanting to wait to find the right person rather than rush into the wrong person for the 2nd or 15th time. I'm talking to her right now. Super attractive and seemed highly intelligent. Can't manage money. Is always in some drama with her shitty friends. Every day is a new ailment and is a WebMD doctor. Even the best people are single at some point in their lives. The people who are always perpetually in a relationship are more of a red flag to me. Like, take some time to be single. Yes. When I first started dating my ex, he was really fun to be around. Always a great time. And so full of life. In the beginning, I had so much fun. We went to awesome events and there was always something fun to do with him. Then about a month in, I started realizing how dependent he was on social media, especially Twitter. He constantly was scrolling, commenting, posting things. I eventually noticed this full of life personality was an act to maintain a huge online persona he created for himself. He wouldn't talk about anything deeper than surface level and was hyper-focused on maintaining his image even behind closed doors. I remember hanging out with him but would feel so alone because he was so obsessed with staying up to date on Twitter. He was constantly seeking validation and praise from people online. It ended up being too much. Especially since I don't have a Twitter, so I couldn't understand the hype. His best friend told me that social media was a reoccurring issue in all his relationships. It made sense why he couldn't maintain a relationship for longer than a few months and always ended up being single. Truly sad. Doesn't really like sex, it turns out. Is pretty focused on himself all the time. And he brags about himself and puts others down. He's actually probably really insecure but he comes off as confident to new people. You dated Ben Shapiro? No, but I feel like that happens a lot to my sister. She's really beautiful, and seems so sweet and innocent, and she is, but she's also autistic. She gets into relationships super frequently, but they always end where she feels like the guys don't put enough effort in, because her hyperfixation and obsessive autistic traits show, and she becomes intensely fixated on her partner to a suffocating degree. And if guys can manage that, then there's the fact that she has many other autistic traits that you don't see until you get close to her. I kinda had the opposite happen to me. She was single for a few years and I understood why. We started dating despite me knowing it wouldn't last. A month later it ended. But 2 weeks after that she was dating someone else, and now it's been 2 years and they are sending out wedding invites. Guess I was a stepping stone for her to sort out some of her issues. Yeah, apparently they hated having sex more than once a month. In college I met this incredibly hot sorority girl who was bubbly and cheerful, and also seemed to be the life of the party in many ways. So I was surprised to find out that she was single and eagerly said yes to me asking her out. I was hyped that I got to go out with a girl who I felt was far out of my league. Then I went on the date with her. The way she spoke reeked of narcissism, arrogance, and constant demands. She was on her phone more often than maintaining eye contact when I was speaking. Additionally, she kept interrupting me and talking over me. In the end, it looked like she just wanted a free meal. All this being considered, it was no wonder she was single. Girl I had been seeing for around a month was super cool and chill. A lot of my friends who went to college with her said she was bad news, but I didn't see it. She said she wanted to wait to have sex for a little while and that was fine. Not my first time encountering that. When she said she was ready, we started getting hot and heavy and she got on top of me. The moment I was inside her, she grabbed my wrists and pushed down them against her headboard and said, "Tell me you're not going to text any other girls and remove all of them on Snapchat tonight. Promise me." After I left, I stopped texting her and removed her from Snapchat. I unfortunately found out that I had put my dick in crazy. Yep, she was perfect in my opinion. Seriously my dream girl. Then I realized she had a lot of issues from a previous relationship that she never really processed and got over. Because of that she projected her insecurities onto our relationship, was extremely mean sometimes, would put up walls with me, pick fights, and ultimately she just pushed me away. I wanted to support her and not give up on her or our relationship, but eventually I just had to for my sake. I genuinely don't think we were ever going to be happy. She needs help. It's something I couldn't fix. I'm sure she will have similar issues in her future relationships. That was me. Some girl was really interested in me but I had some problems growing up. She pushed me away, smart girl lol, and it was then where I started to realize how much your childhood and teenage life can have an effect on you. Not someone I dated but a friend of mine. She lets herself be too controlled by her mother and her family is kind of crazy. So she gets in these decent relationships every year or so. They get serious but they all eventually note the F out because of it. Oh, yes. She was absolutely gorgeous. And really sweet. At first. Then, we talked a little more. She told me she had been in therapy for BPD, but now she switched therapists and the new therapist told her that she's only hypersensible. Sex was great. But after sex you probably don't want to hear that she lost her virginity at the age of 11. Yes. You read that right. Also, she smoked a ton of weed and immediately cut all contact with me after I told her that I'm not her verbal punching ball after she threw a tantrum because I asked her to please give me sooner a notice than 10 minutes before our date when she chooses to go out with her friends instead. Usually I connect really well with that kind of person until the first conflict and it turns out that they have no idea how to compromise or agree to disagree on topics. Yes. Absolutely beautiful girl, like 10 out of 10, super cool and funny. Not only was she head-turning gorgeous, but her personality was incredible. We could hang out for hours and laugh and talk the entire time. Nothing felt forced. The sex was off the charts. We couldn't get enough of each other. It felt perfect. We hung out every day for months. Eventually, as in all relationships, We got in an argument. She then said she needed space and her ex-boyfriend that night. I stupidly decided to keep dating her after we made up, and then we eventually got in a fight again. You'll never guess what she did. Lol. I think she just wasn't ready for a relationship, or had this weird notion that everything should always be happy and perfect. She's engaged now. Not to her ex. Hopefully she's changed and can find happiness. Or hopefully the poor bastard never makes her mad, haha. Yes. I couldn't take her on a third date. I knew it was not going to work. Pros. Smart 29-year-old engineer with a great career. Into fitness. Takes good care of her health and body. She's really hot. Beautiful smile. Awesome hair. Easy to talk to. Great jokes. Kind person. Cons. Hardcore narcissist. Stupidly high relationship expectations. Unfortunately, I'm the girl that guys on dating apps always ask that question. OMG, you seem so perfect. I can't believe you're 33 and never been married. What's wrong? I'm mentally ill. Brett. I take half the pharmacy and still always on the edge of a nervous breakdown at any given moment. That's why. I think I am that person. At first I seem super lovely and caring and interesting. Okay looking, genuine, fit. But I am jealous as ever since I got cheated on. I'm actually toxic to be with, and even though I'm honest about my jealousy, women still date me. I don't want to be with anyone until I fix this, but A, it will take forever, and B, I somehow always end up dating and then hurting someone. I'll end up dying alone. If you are this self-aware about it, you are already 80% of the way there. Just requires a little consistency to make it a habit, and perhaps a therapy session or two. Never feel afraid to ask for help. Yep. I met this guy who went to high school with my sister, so because my sister knew him, I felt okay with going out with him. We texted all day every day and I thought he was the real deal. I couldn't understand why he was single. He was so nice and funny and we had so much in common. Until I found out he's an adult baby. Like, literally loved wearing diapers and adult baby clothes and eat baby food and such. It was too weird for me, so I knocked right away. Lol. I met this girl on Tinder who was absolutely amazing. Our music taste was the same. She had a great job and was financially secure, and we clicked in so many ways. She was cute as a button, and had a wonderful sense of humor. Lil. Old me thought, wow, I can't believe I found someone like this. I could really see a future with her. Turns out, she already had a boyfriend, and I was her side piece. She didn't think what she was doing was wrong. It was rough. Met a good-looking guy out with his dad at this blues cafe. We hit it off well and exchanged numbers and later went on a date. He seemed so lovely, so I asked him how on earth he could still be single at 32. His answer was simple. He wasn't. Actually, he'd been in a relationship for 8 years. Let me remind you, he was with his dad when we met and planned to meet again. ERGH.